watching Warren and Poles sit side by side, two of the leaders of the Bears brass, you saw that Warren spoke a lot as the president and CEO, and that Poles sat quietly for 8.5 minutes and listened. And the whole thing that I was thinking about is, guys, this is strike one. To hire Matt Eberflus the way that Matt Eberflus was hired, and then him no longer being with the team, it's strike one. The heat is on Poles, even though Warren spoke a lot. It's on him from a player standpoint to get the head coach right, because you don't want to squander what's happening right now with the Chicago Bears. Chasing greatness. It starts with Caleb Williams doing what's best for number 18.
Yeah, and it was interesting to sit and listen to what they said and the body language. Ryan Poles did not look to be in a good headspace yesterday. Now, maybe a good night's sleep, and he wakes up and says, all right, let's go attack this coaching search. But what kind of search is it going to be? You know, Shay and you and I were already talking about Thomas Brown. This is not a shot at Thomas Brown. I got one chance here with the golden ticket at quarterback. We've never had one that looks like this. And I'm going to give it to a guy who's an interim coach. We know how those have worked out. I read you the list yesterday. Only one interim coach since 2000, and there's a long list of them, has even finished over 500 in his career. I mean, Antonio Pierce, everyone pounded the table last year in Vegas. Got to get Antonio Pierce. How'd that work out? Mm-hmm. We have that. You have got to get the single best guy on the market, whether Kyle Shanahan becomes available or you got to trade for him, whether Sean McVay becomes available or you got to trade for him, whether Ben Johnson is indeed that dude. But to automatically go, yeah, I'm going to judge him on 5 games. If I was the owner, I want to think like, what would the Yankees do? What would the top tier, best teams in any sport, where do they shop? At the top shelf. So, again, I'll keep an open mind. But for me, I want someone who's been there, done that, proven. What's the cost? I don't care what the cost is. Let's go get the best flipping guy. And then with that dude at quarterback, let's roll.
I don't think that we can accentuate this point more, Cap, when it comes to how important this time is for the Chicago Bears. And you say, well, that's the same thing with Nagy and the same thing with John Fox. And the same. No, it's different. The reason why that we talked, you and I, about how different this organization was is because you tanked to get DJ Moore. You tanked and had a fortunate bounce to be able to have Caleb Williams in the mix as your quarterback. No, this is different than anything else for the Chicago Bears because it's Caleb Williams. It's the number 1 pick. And we've seen flashes of him and his greatness, that he can be able to get the ball and run with the football and be able to pass the football. We've seen some great plays. Again, this is just in his first year. But this is not one of these things, Cap, where you say, well, we're going to try to get the cheapest coach available or we're trying to get some guy that's middle of the road. It has to be the most important hire for the Chicago Bears. It has to be the best guy, and the guy's going to help this team move forward, because if it's not, then I don't know when the Bears are going to be able to be a perennial winner. Or back to the Super Bowl. 85 might be our high watermark as fans, you and I, and those that watched the Bears in 85 win that Super Bowl. Because if you don't get it done now, I don't know when you're going to get it, Cap. It's the National Football League. This is not one of these, they win a pop-up championship and then they go, this is not baseball. No. In this scenario, this hire, whoever it is, as the head coach, is the most important hire in a long, long time for the Chicago Bears. More than Ryan Poles, more than Kevin Warren, no. This guy has to be able to lead this team to be a perennial playoff team and to the Super Bowl. And if it's not the right guy, I don't know when it's going to be time for the Bears to win. Seriously, that's how urgent this is.
I'm in lockstep with you. This is the most important hire in the history of the franchise. Caleb was the most important draft pick because if they fail with him, then I don't know how you fix it.
If you do same old, Cap, like this guy's great for the foursome, this guy here is the same religion I am, or this guy here has been places I've been. It can't be that. It can't be just because we have so many things in common. That was the Trustman Emery thing.
Correct.
Because they all like this. They both like the same TV shows, and they both had so much in common, and they were both verbose, and so they loved each other because they were so similar. It's like two Spider-Man meme pointing at each other.
Correct.
That's why Trustman and Emery were together for 2 years. But it doesn't have to be whether or not you guys have traveled the same places, been at the same golf course, all that. It doesn't matter. It has to be the best guy to be able to lead this time for the Chicago Bears because, let me just tell you, you got some proud veterans in there that don't mind speaking up. I told you yesterday, Cap, the Chicago Bears, starting with Jalen Johnson, is like an NBA team where NBA players, they sit there on the stool and they'll just say whatever they want to say and they'll get a coach fired. That's what happened to Eberflus. Think about the franchise. Over 100 years, never fired a coach in season. But it was so bad. Let Cap and I let you into that locker room based on everything that we've heard. Bears fans, it was a war in there.
After the Detroit game, it was insanity where I had guys tell me, we just got out of the way and just sat there, and there's Jalen Johnson going off for almost 15 minutes screaming at Eberflus. Colorful language. I mean, stuff you would never think you would say to your head coach. And he said yesterday, enough is enough. All I've done is lose since I've been here.
To be clear, Cap, that doesn't happen in the National Football League. In front of everybody? Absolutely not.
You got Bears executives in there, and he's screaming at him for how he managed the final moments of the game. Done. And they've finally ushered Eberflus out after he tried to talk about, we have to go through adversity, right? Get out.
Broke it down for prayer, right?
Yeah.
That's what he said.
And that was it. And they pushed him out of the room. And from what I was told, there were Bears personnel that were led by Kevin, who's obviously in charge, telling guys on the plane, hey, we'll get this fixed tomorrow. And that was it. The fact they let him go out and do that 9 o'clock Zoom, and I know they talked about it, and we've got audio of Kevin talking about that. Yeah. He said, could we have done better? Obviously. Yeah, that's the understatement of the year. I don't understand. He said yesterday we had not made a decision. Okay, maybe you hadn't gotten in the room and finalized it. You knew when you got off the plane in Chicago and went home for Thanksgiving dinner that he was done.
Yes.
There was no chance that dude was ever coaching another second of the Chicago Bears football team. Never. So it was Thanksgiving. That should not have mattered. That rings so hollow to me. Thanksgiving. He's walking out with $10 million.
Yes.
He's fine.
Yeah,
it didn't work. He'll regret things he did or didn't do. He's a good person. He's a lousy head football coach. That's a fact. It's undeniable that he's bad at the job. Here's your $10 million with an offset if you go get another job. Mm-hmm. And good luck to you. Thanks. And you come in Friday morning after, a tough night of sleep or whatever they called it, and you say, Matt, Zoom's canceled. We're having a meeting. Stand by. We'll get back to you. Period. You're paying the man $10 million to go away. There's no tag days for this guy, and there should be no tears.
And, of course, Cap, they did it ass backwards. And that's what makes me nervous about the Chicago Bears because as much as we talked about before Hard Knocks that the Bears seem like a different, more button-up organization, now you do the stuff in the Ted Phillips administration. You do the same stuff you did 10 years ago, and you look mom and pop again. I'll tell you this, watching that press conference and listening to it here on ESPN 1000, I saw two guys, two leaders in Warren and Poles that are determined to get this right. But I want to make sure it's very clear. It's all words. It's words until we actually see it. You love the rah-rah speeches. You love the determination of the guys. But, Cap, it's about the results.
That's it.
It's Chicago. It's about results. And so you could talk about all the things that you want to do on your yellow pad because Kevin Warren had a checklist of things that he wanted to get off his chest for 7.5 minutes before Ryan Poles spoke. It's all words until it actually happens. It's the same thing with the stadium. You just dropped in the whole stadium thing again. It's all words until we actually see the work being put in for the new stadium, wherever it's going to be. What I'm saying is that from teachers to preachers to people on the street, it's interesting how the spoken word can sway people. But until you can actually see what's happening, Cap, it's all just conjecture. It's all talk.
Correct.
We are swayed by words as fans because all we have is hope. But I'm here to tell you that we've heard it all before, you and I. All the Bears fans have heard it all before. It's going to be different. It's going to be different. But it's all words until we actually see the work being put in and the results being winning results. It's about time. We're overdue. Way overdue. This regime has to get this right. Otherwise, everyone's fired, and then we're back to square one again.
Correct. You have 4 more years of Caleb, but you're going to have to probably extend him after year 3 going into 4. It's usually when that happens, like we did with Mahomes. Let's say you extend after year 4. Let's push it out that far. Sure. You got 3 more seasons. That's it. And then he's on at that point, Shay, what are they making now? $65 million a year? $60 million a year?
Yeah.
So by the time he is up for an extension, if he's played to the level we all think he will, he's a $75 million a year guy. At least.
Yeah, 5 years from now, you might want to start with 3 digits.
Maybe. So if you haven't built a Super Bowl contending team by that point, you're effed.
Yep.
You're like, oh, God, I got to pay that guy how much? Because we settled for a coach. We didn't want to spend the top dollar or we didn't want to shop at the top shelf. Mm-hmm. I want to stop thinking like the Kansas City Royals. I want to start thinking like the freaking New York Yankees. That's a $6 billion franchise, the Chicago Bears. There should be not one coach that you can't afford, and there should be not one coach if he's the right guy. I don't care if he ruffles everybody's feathers and people aren't aligned with him. If he's the right coach that can maximize Caleb Williams and our team can win, then hire him. Period. I'm tired of settling in this town, every owner. We settle in every sport. The White Sox, we're not going to be active in free agency. The Cubs, we're not going to shop big in free agency. The Bears, maybe we can hire the interim coach. And this is not a shot at him. I'll keep an open mind. But I want to shop at the top shelf. I want to think like, what would the best teams do if they had to hire a new coach? They'd go get somebody else's coach and go whatever it costs. The Broncos are all of a sudden going to the playoffs. Nobody cares about the draft picks and the $100 million they gave Sean Payton. All they know is, well, Bo Nix looks pretty good. Wow, they're probably going to the playoffs. How'd they do that so fast? Mm-hmm. Because coaching effing matters.
Yes, leadership and coaching definitely does matter.